Black children from the city of Milwaukee have some of the lowest reading scores in the nation. It's a problem dating back decades, and kids from all educational sectors, public, voucher, and charter, are facing the same challenge. For more than a year, the Milwaukee Reading Coalition has worked to develop a citywide strategy to improve reading with the help of $50 million from the state legislature. As school begins in about a month for some kids, it seems like a good time to check in on the progress that's being made. Joining us is one of Milwaukee's best-known educators, Dr. Howard Fuller. He is also one of the co-chairs of the Milwaukee Reading Coalition. Thanks so much for being with us on this important topic, Dr. Fuller.
Oh, thanks for having me, Denise. I appreciate it.
Before we get into an update of the status of the efforts to improve reading, can you quickly remind us what the Milwaukee Reading Coalition is trying to do?
Yeah, so thanks very much for that question. So the Milwaukee Reading Coalition is a coalition of over 100 different organizations and over 150 people who were brought together initially on May 6th of last year by the mayor. And I want to thank the mayor for his leadership throughout this entire process. So the coalition came together with a sense of urgency, and we understand we had two problems. Number one, that our children are not reading at the levels that are acceptable, nowhere near acceptable levels of reading. And secondly, that a significant percentage of our teachers don't know how to teach them how to read. And so we came together with the idea of supporting a science of reading approach to teaching reading. And so the Milwaukee Reading Coalition created a Milwaukee Reading Commission made up of 5 individuals, and they were going to receive proposals from schools that would allow the teachers and the administrators to be trained in the science of reading. The particular program that we'll be using is called LETTERS, Language Essentials for the Teachers Who Teach Reading and Spelling. And so what the commission would do would be to pay for the training, the materials that are needed for the training, and give each person who finishes the training with fidelity a $1,500 stipend. And so the goal of the Milwaukee Reading Coalition to support this work of the commission was to raise both public money and private money to support that effort. We've already raised over $800,000 in private funding, and we were waiting to get support from the state through the Department of Public Instruction so that it will be a true public-private partnership. And unfortunately, it's not $50 million, Denise, that's available for Milwaukee. It's $50 million that's available for the state. And some portion of those dollars was supposed to be set aside for professional development. And whatever proportion of those dollars were going to be sent to Milwaukee, we wanted it to come to the Milwaukee Reading Commission so that we could fund schools, private schools, traditional MPS schools, and charter schools to train their teachers and administrators in the science of reading.
And as we're, again, heading into this new school year, we're still waiting for those things to happen.
Correct. And so yesterday we had a very critical meeting that was convened by the state superintendent and the mayor. The mayor started out the meeting by, again, laying out the sense of urgency. And to the credit of State Superintendent Underly, she said that they came to Milwaukee to get to yes. And so what happened yesterday is we set up a framework that will get to yes. There's still a significant amount of work that has to be done, but for the first time, I felt like all of the people in that room were actually on the same page. There wasn't a lot of happy talk. It was very direct talk. It was very specific. And at the end of that meeting, we had an agreement on how to move forward. And so the responsibility that the Milwaukee Reading Coalition has is to make sure that we stay on course to do whatever needs to be done to help the process that's necessary in order for us to get the resources that we need from the state.
When you take a look at resources and what you need, you're raising private money from philanthropy.
Right.
There'll be an unknown amount of money
Right.
that is coming in from the state. How much money do you think that's going to take? And can you get started before all of the money is through the door?
Well, first of all, we're never going to get the amount of money that's needed. At least let me say very clearly, $50 million for the entire state. Let's be honest, it's a pittance, really. And so the way that this is going to have to work actually is backwards. We're going to have to find out how much money do we actually have, and that will determine how many schools we will actually be able to work with. And so we don't have like a budget because you can't put the budget together until you actually know the level of resources that are available. And then we'll be able to figure out, as I said, given those resources, how many schools can we work with in the first year? And one of the things I want to say while we have this opportunity is this is going to be enormously difficult. As hard as getting the money is, the actual more difficult challenge is going to be to get the commitment that we're going to need from our educators and our administrators, because to go through letters training, it's an enormous amount of time. And if you don't do it with fidelity, it's not worth doing. So just so you and our community understand that in order to go through letters training, it's a 2-year process, and that you only can get through volume 1 in the first year. It's a difficult process to explain. There are 2 volumes. In the first year, I think there's like 8 units to each volume. And then there's sessions within each one of the units. And so it's going to take an enormous amount of time and commitment because there's really 4 things. There's the online learning, there's the reading that takes place, there's what's called the bridge to practice, where you actually practice what you're learning, and then there's what's called a professional learning efforts, where you come in and you try to summarize and understand everything that can be done. So this is going to be an enormous challenge, but it's a challenge that we have to take on.
And our kids not only deserve it, they can't wait.
Yeah, they've been waiting too long. And the hard part about this is I wish it could happen tomorrow, but it's not going to happen tomorrow. But we have to be relentless to make sure that it does, in fact, happen. Because as you said very clearly, our kids deserve this and so much more.
Dr. Fuller, we really appreciate you coming on and bringing us up to date on this. Please keep us informed on how this moves forward. And we really appreciate the efforts, your efforts and the efforts of the Milwaukee Reading Coalition and all of your state and city partners to get this going for kids. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Denise. It's always good to see you.
Good to see you. We'll be right back in just a moment.